Okay, this is the last student project that I'm going to work and share with you. It's more complex, but I still want you to see what you actually can achieve with paper and a good bunch of drawings. This student, just to kind of give you a little context, this student was a mechanical engineering student. So you'll kind of understand that after you see part two. So again, we have, the paper, the original photograph, which is this kind of really interesting, beautiful bridge at night. And it's got a little blue light here, but it doesn't matter. It helps you to see, this lighting helps you to see some planes up at the top. It's got some beautiful texture. So it's a good choice. It's got some small little items down here, some large structural items, lots of negative space in the back. And there's a little tree here, which you probably cannot see. So again, we start with contour drawing. And again, the contour drawing is designed so that you draw the edges of the essential shapes in the drawing to communicate the message of that object. Right? So we can kind of essentially see there's a little tree up in the right-hand side, and then you can kind of understand that there's some kind of architectural structure. Then after that, he moves on to isolating point. So what's interesting about this drawing is he brought in the smaller items down here, some shadows that kind of make some really interesting curvilinear forms. He obviously dealt with some texture. And again, up here, it's more dense, which is darker. And down here, it gets lighter because the dots are farther away. And he experiments with that too. Lovely is this strong diagonal line that goes from the corner to this part here in the center, and your eye goes back around. So this rhythm is kind of circular. Nice job. Then we move on to isolating the line. And again, it's not geometric line, it's isolating the line. So you can see here, there's edges that construct the architectural form, but then also he's dealing a little bit of extra line here to kind of start to deal with texture, but not super. We kind of know that it's brick, but it doesn't look like it feels, right? So it's more about line than it is about texture. And the lines go in every which way. Isolating, now this is actually isolating planes. So we want to have things that are surfaces. So it's this surface here, this surface, this surface. It's tough up here that he doesn't have anything to go with. He could have tried to put in a little bit of surface for the tree, but overall, it's kind of heavy down here in the composition, and this negative space is pretty much almost working as balancing the rest of the composition. Now we get into the geometry. So this is geometric point. Again, the points that you make need to make geometric shapes, and he does this well here. Then we have geometric line. And again, the lines that you choose to put in this composition need to be geometric. So again, use your ruler, don't do them by hand. Nice job here with, again, including this really interesting these small elements, which are quite beautifully balanced with this large negative space, right? You don't need all that detail in there. And now this negative space actually is balanced by that one. This is a really nice drawing. Very beautiful drawing here. I believe this one is geometric plane. You can see how the planes are made from geometric line, and you can see how they also create shapes, geometric shapes. They can be abstract, but this is a nice abstract large shape here, and this line here, if you took it away, it would create another type of geometric shape. So you can always put lines together to make geometric planes and have it be abstract. It's totally fine. It does not have to be realistic. Now we get into his texture. And obviously you can start to see he's playing with some rock texture. He's trying to give you a sense of that here too. He brought in his brick. I wish he had done that a little bit more. I think there's right here he used some kind of pencil. Again, you really need to just use marker. He could have kind of done some slash marks there. Not as strong, but experimental. And then he's trying to get some metal roofing up there. This is his multi-layer one. So now he's got some texture in here, some line, mostly just line and texture here. Better than just the texture one. So now again, part two, you've got to look at all your drawings and decide which one is going to be inspirational for you. This one might have been, but I actually think it's more this one. I think the geometric line inspired his part two. So his part two is pretty complicated. He wanted to explore space, obviously lots of three-dimensional space as part of his major, mechanical engineering. He wanted to put a person himself into the sculpture. So he made the person cut out of the paper, looking through the bridge to the small structure that was in his lower left-hand corner, the house, and he popped that out. So it was really kind of this interesting spatial relationship between something very large with something very small, and then the person who gets very, very small. And then it's also fun to kind of look through the sculpture. It was all done with paper and white tape. It's a little rough in the wears now because it's been around for a couple years, but it still looks pretty good.